That joke get down, all right. So, 9 years, tell me the first thing you shot, how you felt about it. The very first thing you guys shot. What was the first thing you guys did in the movie?
It was all of the liquor store stuff. That was day one. Was a street in West Oakland that no one has ever shot on, and that where, you know, for production we had to shut down the liquor store for a day, which we told them was going to be problems. And it was problems, but it was fine. It was fine. All good problems. But there's a great story about that. There's a great story about how this day informed the rest of Rafael's trajectory.
There's a big gap between what you, at least for me, what I think I'm gonna do with a character versus getting on set and getting ready to shoot and going, all right, whatever choices I made are about to get cemented right now. And you run through the criteria of how Miles is gonna be. And I was in the get-up for the first time on set, and I got the jacket on, and the golden, and the jewelry, and everything.
What if I could put the grill in for the first time in front of the camera?
The first time I put it in for the camera was this moment. This
Exactly, that's what I wanted.
That's what we're about to have right now. And we'd shut down the liquor store, and you know, people have been coming by periodically trying to go into the store, and we're stopping them and going, no, we're shooting a film, you can't get your malt liquor right now. It's a freaking corner store. I don't know how to. So we're.
But also like the like lack of understanding of what that would, which to
we're shooting a movie.
Why would anyone be shooting a movie here? So like people would literally just walk past all of the cameras and try to open
Step
the
over
door
and just walk in the front door of the liquor store. So finally, this dude comes out of his house like 3 doors down from the liquor store. He's got hoop shorts on, socks pulled up, with some like over the toe flip flops. Big white tee, sideways hat, white dude, comes walking out, steps over everything, gets to the front door, sees that he can't go in, checks me out, and he's like, okay, you're fine. Kind of looks around at everybody else, and just goes, man, gentrification on a whole nother motherfucking level, fuck y'all! And he walks on. And I just looked at him and I went, oh, Miles, got it, all right. Straight gentrification on a whole nother motherfucker. Got it, all right, let's do this. And then we added that line into the movie. Because it's so honest.
Now, I
That was the first shot.
About shooting with Ethan Embry. I mean, just getting him. I mean, because he wasn't really part of your squad, and
he's part of Jess and Keith's squad. Our producers are here in the back.
Jess and
Keith Calder.
Jess and Keith believed in us for 10 years to make this film and help us develop it entirely. So it's amazing that they're here. And they had worked with Ethan on a few other projects. One was the Devil's Candy, which is a really amazing film. And so we were looking for someone to play a police officer that wasn't going to have many lines at all. We needed somebody who was going to give it dimension and complexity. So for the moments that this character was on screen, everything is about complicating the issue, right? And so that's what Ethan brought, more than I think we could have ever anticipated.
Ethan called it, he says 6 words in the whole goddamn thing. And he must have called us every other day from like the moment we asked him to do it. And he said yes with like another book that he read, another autobiography by a police officer that he read. Like, I mean, Ethan does his work, and it shows. I mean, that's the thing. And there were moments where it felt sort of ludicrous for him to even be talking to us about. We'd be like, man, you're Ethan Embry, you do what you want. Like, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But he would ask all of these questions, and we would get in these long conversations about Officer Molina and how malicious is he? What is his like? What is the week like between when we see him at the beginning and when we see him at the end? All of this stuff, and I loved all those conversations, and part of it to me was just kind of like, but also why are we doing? I mean, this is crazy. And then when we're actually shooting that scene in the basement at the end of the film, and it's just the 3 of us, but really all of my energy is directed towards Ethan, and he doesn't really say anything, but has to give me everything that I need to operate in that film. And I was like, oh, thank God you did all this work. Because I wouldn't have been able to do that scene otherwise. I mean, that's your scene partner, and that's what you need. He's such a giving actor, and cares so deeply about a role that he says yes to, regardless of sort of what. It's not about screen time for him at all. It's about getting the telling the story and giving life to this character, and he so fully inhabited it to a point where it was terrifying sometimes. But thank God that it was him, and thank God Justin Keith suggested it, and that he was willing to do it, and that he put in the work that he did, because it's staggering to me. He is always, everybody remembers him. He is mentioned in every discussion that we have about the film, and he has literally 6 words in the whole film. It's an incredible performance.
Because that's what I was wondering. You gotta find somebody who can really have an impact without saying anything, and that's a lot to ask of an actor, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly when you ain't gonna pay him nothing.
Not a big budget movie.
But it's the thing we were talking about earlier, the idea of this movie being inhabited, and again, the long take, which builds up its own weird kind of tension, because you're wondering what's gonna happen seeing all these people on camera for this long. And if you guys felt this, I was telling when we talked earlier that my back hurt after I saw this movie the first time, because I was kind of like this the entire time. And I was thinking before that it occurred to me, this movie is really about tensions. And for that reason, it's a really hard movie to shake off. And I wonder if you guys were feeling that on any particular day more than others. Obviously, it seems with Ethan, but there are other days you really felt it.
The first, that dream sequence, which was pretty early on, physically for me, because all I'm doing is tensing and screaming and spitting bullets out of my mouth. But that was sort of the first kind of the scarier things in the film. That was the first one of those we did, and that was another like very Carlos-y, our director Carlos. So like a very theatrical moment that that required a ton of setup, and Robbie, our brilliant DP, who had to sort of take all of these ideas and make them happen, was looking around this space being like, what do you mean you want to shoot all the way around it? That means we can't fucking light anything. And like, how, like, and Carlos sort of being like, I know, but for this one, we're gonna do it anyway, and I need these lights, I need someone to be operating this lighting board so that the lights can time with the thing, and all this stuff, all this setup, and then to have this sort of incredibly tense moment with all of these extras who were all local cats, and having, it's I think even probably more tense for me than the things that I was shooting would be turning to the right and seeing 12 chained black men in a jury booth. I mean, that's a crazy thing to sort of watch for 6 hours or however long we were in there. And to sort of go through that whole experience, and then afterwards have all of them like stay after and say thank you, and for, be so proud to be part of this story and in a thing that was being told this way. It was just like a very emotional moment, but also one that was the first one I think that we shot that felt that kind of tense for me.
Rafael?
Yeah, same. No, I think, tense. There was a moment, there's a shot where David's being followed by a police car, and the spotlight is on him. When we were shooting it, I was standing across the street. It doesn't matter if it's fake. It's a horrifying visual. For the same reason that scene is so horrifying, it's because you know how all the ways that it can go wrong, and does go wrong all the time. When we shot the shooting that kicks off the movie, Ethan is that officer when he runs by every take, and it's the sounds that you hear. You hear the gun go off. You hear our stuntman's body hit the street every take, and it's just, it doesn't matter. It's fake. It's too close.
What's even scary is just like looking at that shot in the rearview mirror, seeing him go down. It's almost like it's something. It's weirdly becomes again another like allegorical thing, where it's something that's always happening in the periphery for people of color. It's always in the rearview mirror somehow or another. You can't escape that.
Yeah, that was a trip. There were a lot of things that were like a trip to shoot, but it's funny because I don't think about those. I mean, we had so much fun. But like those
We
ones.
still got to make a goddamn movie.
Yeah. But like, it's interesting you asking that question, being like, oh yeah, some of this stuff was like real heavy.
I mean, I can complain about anything if you want to
Right.
complain.
But it was.
Well, you
but
were
you
just here, so yeah.
I have that muscle.
Let's drop them.
They are well aware.
But I think also part of the hype is, when you're shooting something in 22 days, you don't really like. I mean, you go home and you get what little sleep that you can, and you like pop your ass right back up at 5 in the morning and do the thing again. I mean, there's no time to really sit in your discomfort or, it's all scheduled. It's all, and everything comes down to the, and even that moment with the cop car, right? We were so late. Y'all remember how late that shot was? Because we had planned on streetlights being on, or not streetlights, lights on the side of that building being on.
They were on a real timer.
They were on a real timer, and they'd been on every night that we had ever scouted, and that night they did not come on. So there was no way to light that fucking scene. They had to invent a new way to light that scene. My girlfriend was on set that day. She's actually asleep in that building above me. When that was where production was, and she had fallen asleep there. It's 4 in the morning by the time we shoot that, I think. Like now we're racing daylight. Like if the sun comes up, we miss this shot. That's the kind of late it was. So yeah, it's really shit like that when you're working on a film. So I think one of the benefits of us having lived with this material for so long, that like when push came to shove, we could just get the performance. We knew how to do. Hopefully, I mean that's what we were betting on. Like hopefully we're gonna get the fucking shot, because sometimes it really is about time, and there wasn't much of it, and so sometimes you just have to trust that you're performing it right and check on it in the edit and be like, oh yeah, got it.
But for all the planning you do, I mean, that's the thing so fascinating to me about the movie, is that so much stuff changed in the day. I mean, because you're thinking about this thing for 10 years, and you have ideas of what's going to happen, we're going to do this, and every day you're like throwing another curveball, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we, to a certain degree, we're pretty shielded from the really drastic things that change, because the burden is on the folks who aren't on stage here with us now. I mean, our producers and our director and our DP and our line producer, these people who are sitting and meeting day in and day out after we wrap, because some location was canceled, we can't use it anymore tomorrow, or one of our cast members who will remain unnamed gets a concussion and has to go to the hospital.
I'm sorry, what?
Things happen, people. Let the insurance finish out first. But there's the unexpected things are sometimes are part of the excitement of the experience. It's like, well, we have to figure this out, and artists are problem solvers. Everyone on set is a problem solver. So if you have a great crew, we got very lucky. We had an amazing crew of people who are super in love with the story and dedicated to it, and I think we were really all honored to work with each other. So when things came up, all these moments where like I'd worked crew on so many other sets in my career, and I've watched somebody's bad attitude trickle down, or some department coming unhinged rip through the entire crew. We just never had anything like that, and that was sort of the blessing of the shoot. Is every day we got further into it, the more appreciative we were of the temperament of the crew and the love for the project, and that fueled us into the next one. So the few moments that it was tense, like we had great leadership. Carlos, if almost more than anything, has the right temperament to lead a crew. It's hard to stay mad at Carlos when he asks you to do it again. He's just so fucking sweet.
Tell me about the first time you guys met Carlos, because you were telling me earlier, he was basically the last piece of the puzzle you really wanted.
Yeah, to this project, but we'd known him for, I'd known Carlos for about 7 or 8 years. He shot music videos for my band Clipping. That's how we met. And the first time I met him, he knew one of my bandmates, and knew a friend. They worked on a project together separately, kind of thing. Carlos had directed some part of a project that he was sound designer or something. But anyway, Carlos wanted to direct a video for us. We had found that out through a friend of a friend or something, and we were having phone conversations with him about what song. We thought this song, Work Work, was the single. Great, we start talking about this thing. He's got all these crazy ideas. It's like, yeah, and I want like somebody to curb stomp David's head, and his head's gonna explode, and animals are gonna come out of his carcass, and like all this. And we're kind of like, yeah, whatever, Brett. Yeah, that sounds like your budget is $1,000. So, like, good luck with that, and let us know where to show up, and that's all, you know. And we showed up on the day. He's got a damn movie, which I've never seen before. He's got like the lights in the alley we're shooting in Beverly Hills are all timed to the music. They're all like, all of this practical lighting is happening, and he plans on doing this thing in one shot, where like it's this crazy single shot where I'm getting curb stomped by the woman guest rapper on the project, and at a certain point the camera moves off. They have to switch my body with a dummy with a ceramic head, and there's a rat handler on set who's pushing rats through the fake carcass of this. And I was like, you do remember the budget discussion we had, right? Yeah, I got it. All these people were shooting a commercial with me yesterday. It's fine. We're like, and he shot this incredible video that like, to this day is one of the most impressive things I've ever been a part of. And every single time I work with Carlos has been like that. You tell him what the parameters are, and he overperforms by like such a huge degree to make it, again, like in the way that it's impossible to say no to him. Sometimes it's also like, well, of course I'm gonna work with you again. Like like nobody else, that shouldn't have been able to happen. And so we kept having these kinds of experiences with Carlos, so we sort of knew who we wanted to make this movie with, you know.
What do you remember about meeting Martin?
I mean, I met Carlos through David, and we started this program at the Public Theater in New York called Bars. It's a verse-driven theater program. And the vision for it was always to have sort of a final project that the students, the participants in the program would do every time we did the program, and that was, we were writing all of these sort of 2 to 4 minute theater vignettes, and we were going to string them all together and perform them all around the room with a live band, and we would get an audience in there. It would be like a medley play, a musical medley play that we put together at the end of every summer. And early on, I was like, we'll get a DSLR and a shoulder mount, and we'll sort of film it in the round. And I mentioned this off the cuff to Carlos at a cafe one day, and he's like, well, you should let me do that. He's even softer. You should let me do that. Sure, man. So, and again, he tells us all these plans. I think I gave him maybe $3,000 of a budget.
So it's a bump.
Triple what Diggs pays. We're further along in our careers.
Sub Pop Records.
Sub Pop Records.
Oh my God, yeah, hundreds of dollars.
Yes,
Yeah,
hundreds.
literally dozens of dollars.
I don't know where our money came from. But we get there on the day. He plans it all out. Where I'm sort of directing the theater performance of it in preparation for the shoot. And we get there on the day. I've rented this dance studio, and I walk into the dance studio, and it's like it's this maze of sets all the way through the space, and there's a space for a small amount of audience over here. Was it OK Go who always had those videos that were like really elaborate? It feels like some OK Go video all the way through. There's tracks on the floor. He's like, we're gonna go here, then the cardboard cutout's gonna come across the camera. We're gonna pan to this side, and the smoke machine's gonna come down, and then the smoke machine's gonna go away, and the coffin's gonna open, and she's gonna come out. It's like, bro, are you shitting me right now? We didn't practice any of this. It's like they're artists, though. It's gonna work out. All right. We got 150 people in the hallway as our audience members. We can fit maybe 12 in the damn room, so we're shoving it in every take.
It's 200 degrees in the goddamn thing.
And it's all in one take. And
it's a 20-minute piece.
It's a 20-minute piece. And goddamn it, he pulled it off. And it's amazing. It's on YouTube. It got like 100,000 views for a 20-minute thing. It got 100,000 views in 24 hours or something like that. And just watching that experience, I was like, oh, this dude is cut from the same cloth as us in this way. We learned at some point to do as much as we can with the little that we had. Whether it was getting an album done with one half-working laptop and a microphone and just figuring it out, or trying to put a band together when we didn't know how to put a band together, shooting a music video when someone just gave us a camera and we didn't know what we were doing. You try to make it stretch. And we got into this amazing moment where Jess and Keith asked us who we wanted to direct this, and
Which is a crazy thing.
which is a crazy thing to ask us.
And
And we,
financing producers would be like, who do you want?
who do you want? I don't know. We don't know that many directors. But
The one we know.
that was what really happened. We only had one name. We're like, well, we thought about a lot of people, but no, but we wanted somebody who was hungry in the way that we were, who we had a shorthand with, and that we all understood the gravity of the challenge and were excited about it. And Carlos signed up to do the movie before he even knew what it was about. It was just me going, hey, Carlos, you want to direct this movie I think we're finna do? That was the sentence. And he went, yeah, I think, yeah. What is
But
it?
way quieter.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sure. What is it about? Yeah. So, because there's trust, and there's the excitement about making things together. We'd had that high together before. And we have the dream of making a movie together, and that powers you through a lot.
When we were talking earlier, you were talking about the sort of theatricality of the film, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And there's something when you watch a piece of theater, one of the things that you're watching is people figure a thing out. You know what I'm saying? You're watching how people adapt to crazy situations. And so I was thinking about that a lot in terms of Carlos too, because he has a theater background similar to the rest of us, and that's part of that is in Blindspotting too. I mean, that's it's part of the hype of keeping shots that wide. That it's and letting takes run long like that. It's watching people adapt to a scene as it expands, and watching people adapt to a situation. There's something exciting about that. There's something visceral about that. That's why we love seeing things happen live, and so I've just been thinking about that since you said it earlier, and it is sort of baked into the film because of the way that we all happen to know how to work.
No, I mean, I think that's crucial to it. And one of the ways it really comes out, and I want to ask you all guys about this as the last question, is that the women are all the adults in the movie.
Any objections?
Why, whatever do you mean? No, I mean,
No,
that in the writing of it, it's the women who basically come through in every single scene with the common sense. Like the thing that needs to be said to these guys that never would occur to these guys.
Oh, I think, and I have. There were versions of it. It was difficult to massage, right? Because what I never want Val to be nagging Colin. That's not the thing, right? You want to have, and I am.
We don't know why they were together, and she's a nag. It wouldn't make any sense.
Right. And I don't. There's this trope that exists of like totally. Smart, sensible. There's a trope that exists in Hollywood, right? This is where some totally smart, sensible woman is for no reason with this disaster of a man, and like for some reason we just all accept that, even though he clearly makes her life horrible, and I didn't want to play into that. At the same time, like when we sort of examine logically what each of these characters are going through, Ashley is a little, I think, more clear on the, by nature of the different blind spots that her and Miles have, right? Ashley's sort of more clear of the gravity of the situation of raising Sean, I think, in certain ways. And that grounds her a little bit. And Val's reaction to gentrification is different than Colin's and then Miles's. Val is a survivor, and is a roll with the punches type, and she's like, all right, well, if this world is changing, like I'm going to get what there is to get out of it, And Janina talks a lot about this also of being first generation, of being, of immigrant parents, and saying, and there are expectations placed on her that she, that are she's going to figure out. That's why Val is in school. Val is going to achieve a certain level of things in her life, and she is out. She is looking for that, and she's made the very painful decision not to let this person that she loves stand in the way of that. And so, that's one of the reasons that her and Miles have fun. So I hope, I agree with you that the women are making more adult decisions. I
think we just wanted to make them.
I hope that they're justified.
They're right about the situation in the movie, not perfect people in the world, right?
No.
I think that circumstantial difference means a lot to me. That they see something about this particular moment and these two men that they're around that they have vantage points on. We try to really write moments in both of their circumstance that are questions of their own. Like, I would love to see the Ashley movie. I would love to see the Val movie. I think those are nuanced and interesting characters that could just as easily sort of have a film from their perspective. But I think we were geeked for 10 years about writing and being in the lead or something, so we couldn't go back on that.
But Ashley is also rolling up weed in front of her kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Val is also, Miles' points about Val, although over the top, are not incorrect necessarily. Val did not go to visit Colin when he was in jail.
She did ask him to change his appearance to alter the way that he walks through the world, and like that poses an interesting question about what you should give up in order to accommodate an unjust system.
So I think their adulting is as complicated
and it's compromise is there.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring this up is just because that becomes a really subtle way of making these guys sympathetic, or having these women in their lives. And I just wondered if that was something you guys thought about too. That there has to be some reason for us to feel for these guys, just besides the relationship they have between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Was that a conscious thing?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was necessarily conscious, except to the degree that like we wanted, even in a story that's really about these two guys, to see as much of their life as possible. When we were talking earlier about trying to see as much of the city as possible, trying to introduce us to as many different kinds of people who exist in this Oakland that we're in Oakland as possible. What you want?
Can you turn it
Swipe
off?
left, and get him. Swipe left.
Wait, no, I want to.
Well, what's the score?
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Anyway, you were saying-
But anyway, no, I wanted to, I think we wanted them to, they are other people to exist who exist and their relationships that they're in are part of the story as well,
Yeah.
Just like everybody is part of the story as
I think
well.
we were trying to represent also a community of people in Oakland that we don't see very much, and so I don't think that we could imagine like a Miles character without the people that are a part of that character's world, and sort of to silo them sort of separate from everything would have been just as insincere. There's massive influences for everybody, and so we thought about, well, who are the women in their lives, who are the parents in their lives, who are the children in their lives. Let's make sure that it's populated in that way. Something that one of our producers, Jess Calder, was very, very adamant about throughout the whole process of making sure that we saw as many different sort of perspectives and people in the community as possible, especially the women. So we'd turn in a draft and she'd kind of be like, not good enough.
Wow.
She doesn't feel real yet. Let's dig a little deeper. And then we brought in Jasmine to do a table read with us. And Jasmine read all the characters, all the female characters when we were doing the table read. And then suddenly I was aware of ways in which they were flat. And then Jasmine had notes. And then Janina read it. Janina had notes. And we felt like it was really important once we got on set. And Carlos was really on board for this too. That if they felt like a line was flat or didn't feel honest to the way in which they had constructed the character in their minds, then they could change it. There were definitely moments, like I remember getting into a conversation with Janina at some point after she was brought on board, and we were talking through who Val was, and she was like, "No, that's not who Val is. And I was like, "Oh, it's not mine anymore. It's not." The actor then does the work to decide the motivations of the character, and that steers it in a different way. And that's the fascinating part about getting outside of ourselves. I mean, we're writers. Writers write a lot of different kinds of characters and different characters from different vantage points. But in the end, it's the actor's responsibility to make them truly feel human. And it's our job also as producers to let go and go, okay, well, if you're responsible for this person, make them whole in any places that we've missed, and let us know how we can support that process.
Well, I mean, the more I talk to you guys, the more this just sounds like so atypical in the generosity of just sort of finally about trusting everybody, isn't it?
We're super we're theater kids. We're collaboration is everything.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, particularly
You don't have to.
You don't have to, but like if you want to make something good. Well, no, I mean, let me rephrase that. If we want to make something good, like there's no way we could pretend to know what we were doing, right? We had like literally nothing there's no reason anybody, including Jess and Keith, would believe that we could do this. So I think for us, you have to, and as actors and coming from, as performers, that is part of it. And sometimes you're working on a piece where you're like, why the fuck did you cast me if you don't care what I think about this person? You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in that situation where it's like, well, if you cast me for my input and my ideas on this character, and then you remove that agency from me, then I'm just reading lines. You can do that, right? Like you actually don't need me to do that. You can do a funny voice and read these lines, and that's fine. So, you cast, we were very careful about our casting. We cast the people who we knew we wanted for these parts, and when you do that, you give it to them. And you say, this is yours now, help us please figure this out, because we got it as far as we could on a piece of paper, and that is a very small fraction of the way there.
That's a great place to end. Let's thank these guys for being here.
Thank you for coming.